Hello, everybody. How you doing? Checking out my mic. We're starting a little bit early today because I was finally able to organize myself just a little bit over the weekend, and I'm so excited about this topic. It was we haven't been unanimous as far as voting goes for like a hot minute. I wanna even bravely say like about a month into things. And you guys were super unanimous with this one. You were just like, yes, we want to talk about how to achieve a unique style. I couldn't find a meme for the life of me. Usually I title these streams like with a meme of some sort, but I found a very unique style that spoke to me. We're not talking about fashion today, so if it's your first time on the stream, hi. Hello, greetings. My name is Haunted Goose, and I am your wonderful and spooky host on Mondays and Wednesdays as we venture into topics of art or do challenges or basically this is an art related channel, so you'll probably like see a couple of topics, or I'm usually like drawing of some sort, but today, since it's kind of a discussion type, you'll probably just see a video that I was lucky to grab. I wanted, my first initial thought was to like stream as I was drawing, but I know this was kind of a not like a serious topic, but one that like a lot of you guys really wanted to hear about or hear my take on it. So I wanted to like concentrate on the chat as much as possible and give you guys art content at the same time. So I grabbed this like process, I guess, on one of like the stickers that I'm gonna be working on. I wanted to do kind of like a silly like circus garden thing, but that's for another time. But before we get into our topic, I just want to give a quick shout out to our patrons, if I can. Wait, is the link not working? Is that something that's not happening? Oh no, the link's not working. So, ooh, oh my. Is there something that I can? I'm gonna see if I can find the image itself and see. Well, what's funny is like I actually have like folders. Specifically, let me see. I have it of the schedule. I have, I believe, the blank one, but does it have? Oh, yes, it is. Okay. So, I'm sorry it didn't happen as soon as I said it, but quick shout out to our patrons. Thank God I have everything in a file. Um, and thank you for our lovely patrons and for your support, both emotionally and financially. Thank you guys so much for your kindness, your support on not only the stream, but also on my Instagram and my other platforms. I really appreciate you guys and hearing from you. So thank you so much. And I'll make sure that that link is gonna be more. It's probably because I like moved it over here. So anywhoozles. So yeah, you'll probably be seeing like the video kind of play on the right hand side, so you guys can enjoy that, or you can just enjoy as I flip through. I finally like I was hesitant to do this in a PowerPoint because um I didn't want it to be like boring or anything, but also the topic, it's not like usually I pretty much have like notes on any time we talk about this sort of thing. And my notes are like 4 pages long, and I was like, I don't think people want like 4 page notes on this. So I thought I would kind of divide it up into certain categories. It's um and also like as we're gonna like discuss it, we're probably going to like veer off in a rabbit hole of some sort because that's usually what happens on stream. Um, but I just know like this is like a very, I don't know, it's kind of close to my heart because I struggled with this and I still to this day probably struggle with it. We're probably going to get really deep into discussion about this, but I at least wanted to make some PowerPoints or some points like as we talk about it or as people start coming into the chat. I'm gonna hold off at least for a couple more minutes because I know my streams they start technically at 2, so we got some 2 minute chill time before people hop on. But yeah, also wanted to catch up on with you guys real quick. How's everything with you guys? Are you enjoying? Oh, and happy Papa's Day for all the papas out there. I hope you guys are having a fun. I'm sorry it like fell on a Monday. I feel like uh well, oh, sorry, actually it's a Monday here now. No, actually you guys got it on a Sunday. No, we had Father's Day on Sunday too. It's just I called my family that's on the other side of the world and it's Sunday over there, but it's Monday over here. So I'm always in the future, so I think like you guys are in the future too, but you guys are most likely chilling on a Sunday right now. So that's good. That's good you guys are enjoying it on the weekend. That would be awful. I would feel awful if you guys had to celebrate uh Father's Day on a Monday. That doesn't sound fun at all. But we we're doing good. We had to take the foster puppy, our foster baby. We had to take her to the vet though, cause she got a little sick. But thankfully, like we got medicine, so she's all taken care of, and we're doing good on that front. Um, so yeah, it was a little bit scary, but thank goodness for medicine, and the foster group was always super nice and supportive. So uh, we did good on that end. Alrighty, guys, so it's 2 o'clock. It is official. So we're gonna go and start. So I wanted to um, kind of discuss uh, like thoughts when I came up. Well, actually, funny enough, a follower asked me this. They were nice enough to kind of comment on it while we were on our last stream, and I kind of wanted to make it one of the subjects of the stream. And one of the things that when I was researching the video, because I didn't want to come on stream and kind of say the same thing that everyone else was saying, I kind of wanted to um, elaborate, but I kind of wanted to see what, like, if you literally Google or search on YouTube, that's a lot of what I do, what are people saying? I didn't want to parrot the same thing that you can literally, like, Google. I want to kind of elaborate on it, and so many of which I don't fault them for because I got the same advice and I still get the same advice of okay, so you're trying to find your unique artistic style like in your art. So a lot of things that they said were you need time. And it's basic, it's solid, but what do you mean by that? Like, I remember my teachers and a lot of people in my life who are artists, they would say, well, you'll develop your style with time. And I think what people mean by that is that the only way you can really develop a style, if it's possible, is that you need a body of work to find your style. So time, I think, has nothing to do with it. I think it has more to do with making work and kind of seeing the patterns that you as an artist put into your work. So, for example, you can be an artist for 20, 30, 40 years, but if you only make within those 40 or 20 years like a handful of bodies of work, and this doesn't matter if it's digital, if it's um, like uh, traditional. Really, I'm talking about like art, like an artistic um, person. Like, if you make anything, in my book, you're an artist. Like, you're creating something that was not there before. And if you only make a couple of bodies of work, you can't really see a pattern of any sort. Like, I think what makes a person unique in their style is that they create work that has a consistent pattern that is unique to them. But when people give this advice of you need time, I think it's more of the idea that like you are with that time creating something that's a pattern that um, is uniquely yours, if that makes sense. So a lot of people, they hear that advice and they think, ah, yes, once I turn, once I'm in my 15th year of creating art, I am unique. That's not true. I really think there's no stamp or certificate that makes you a unique artist. Like, this is my hot take, and like, I'm super excited to see like what other people have to say about it. But in and of itself, I'm sorry, I'm clicking through because um, my hot take in this is that anytime you draw, you are making decisions, and those unique decisions. Um, and the hot take about that is that you are, by creating something, and even if you were to try and copy something from somebody else, it is near impossible to create art exactly like somebody else because you are making so many small decisions that unless you are in the mind of the other person and thinking those same patterns as that person, like you are like basically um, unique in your decision making. So if you sit down and you're given a reference, even if it's fan art, this is why a lot of people who knock down fan art, like, you are basically taking away somebody's, like, of course, like, that character does not belong to you. Of course, like, it is in and of itself a rendition of somebody else's work, but you are adding your own flair and your own skills and your own techniques, might I add, to making a version of that art that is uniquely yours. It is, you can even teach people similar techniques. You can teach people, like, even give people the same products. And in and of itself, like, they cannot, unless they are like collaborating with each other to do and make the same decisions. So, in and of itself, like, I'm happy, or um, like, I can give you the news that you are unique. Now, I think what people, when they ask this question of how do I find my style or how do I find my unique style, I think in a lot of ways that's not what they're really asking, because in and of itself, you're already unique. Like, there is no one like you. There's no one who has experienced the same things as you. And even if you find somebody who has had the same time, resources, and have been taught the same things, in and of itself, the decisions that you make at that moment um, are uniquely yours, and you're adding your experience into your artwork. So you should feel good about it. But I think when we are asking that question, you're getting to the point where you don't feel good about your work. It's most likely you're asking this question because drawing and having a skill just hasn't, it's not good enough anymore. So that means that you're evolving as an artist. What used to be, probably when you started art, of course, this is all anecdotal because a lot of, when I made this PowerPoint, or I guess when I made this discussion, I'm thinking a lot of myself or my friends or my family that are in some sort of artistic field. Um, in a lot of ways, when you start asking, uh, like, how do I become unique, or how do I break away from the crowd, I think that question is a lot more seated about that you don't feel good enough about your work. And now drawing isn't enough. Being able to draw something isn't enough. And what I mean by that is that now you're challenging yourself, or you're looking at your work compared to other people, and now you want to feel like you want to improve. Now, not only do you want to make art, now you want to make good art compared to like other people. So this, I think, starts being asked once you start comparing yourself to other artists. And why is it that we compare ourselves to other artists? Because in our references and in our studies, we're learning that skill from other people. So, in and of itself, it's kind of like a loop that sometimes as artists we fall under, because when we are learning, a lot of the times, if you're anything like me, I could be completely um, like off left field in this, because I know I'm coming from a newer generation of artists that are learning from the internet. But a lot of what we're studying in art now is very involved with the internet and with vlogs and with actually getting to know the artist. And but now more than ever, and I think this is why it's such a great time to be involved in art now, because now people are opening up to the process and techniques of how to achieve certain things, which, believe it or not, like I want to say a couple of like decades or so ago, like it was not in fashion for artists to be so transparent with how they made things. They were very hush hush about how they made things. I think because it added to like the rarity of it, or because they like to have their art close to the chest, sort of thing. So if somebody knew how exactly I did things, then I'm not unique anymore. But I feel because of the internet and because of the access that we have to it, and how not only are you tying in your art, but also your personality and um, like your vision like into your art and your personality, sort of thing. I feel there's more of a promotion of artists reaching out and teaching other artists, and it's almost even frowned upon, I think, when you don't at least try to help, or I feel there's more of a sense of community now. Um, and I could be very biased, especially since I've never technically gone to an art school. I've only been taught art in and of itself in like person to person classes when I was younger. But in and of itself, like I'm not sure in a university level, I'm more than happy to be corrected in that way. Um, but from what I remember when I was younger, and then artists that I was exposed to before that were professional, and that, uh, it was kind of like this thing, this gatekeeping of like, oh, unless you took classes and you were connected with so and so and you learned these techniques and you had access to these things, like you're not a real artist. And I do not agree with that at all. I really don't feel like there is this, especially that art is so, how can I put this? Relative in the sense of taste, and what is good and what is bad is very unique to people. Here's that word again. Um, but if you are creating something, being unique in and of itself um, isn't enough. Like you want to be unique and good. So, in your eyes. So, in a lot of ways, once you start asking this question, it's that you just want to level up your skills. And as much as you do want to be different, like it's mostly coming from a place, in my personal experience, that now you're starting to ask and compare yourself and your skills to other people, and you want to level yourself up. You not only want to learn all these things, but you're comparing your art and what you're creating and saying, like, well, I'm referencing and I really like this art. And, I like my art okay, but I want to be like this person, or I want to learn this style, a lot of the times. So, what I'm going to kind of break down for you guys is that if you do have these questions, if it's something like where kind of my statements speak to you in that way, I'm gonna kind of break down um, kind of the thought process behind that, and like hopefully this will answer those steps. Now, I am completely open that there's people who do not feel this way. Not everyone is going to go um, to and feel this, and some people, they do art for fun. They just enjoy the process. Like what they create is what they create, and that is good enough for them. And I very much respect those people. Just that this talk is not like, to say like you need to feel these things, or oh, you're not a real artist if you don't feel this pressure to be better. No, no, no. Like I feel just like life and just like um, the world and everything. People go through their own artistic journeys in their own time and feel and have every right to feel like the way that they feel. It's just more out of my sense of like experience, I guess, as teaching, and then experience as an artist. I hate saying that because I almost feel like this imposter syndrome, but it's more like out of a sense of like, I don't want you guys to feel alone, like that it's perfectly valid and perfectly fine to feel these things. And this is kind of like how I've kind of broken down everything in my head to kind of explain it to you guys. Now, let me see. I did this little chart. Um, so if you do have these feelings of not feeling good enough, or uh, like kind of feeling like you want to level up where you're at now, and the questions that you're asking are, okay, how do I find my own style? And you're comparing yourself um, to other artists. Um, the two things that you kind of need to reflect on, if it's something like where you feel negative about where you're at, because that's completely normal. It is completely normal to um, be in a spot or a slump in your work where you're not happy with it. The only thing that I would severely recommend or hint at is to not mistreat yourself, in that process. I know it's very easy to do because in a lot of ways, it's a motivation, like if uh, I'm criticizing myself, it'll push me to be better. However, I'll be the first to tell you that that will quickly burn out, because there will be a point where you become super hypersensitive about making mistakes that it's almost like you freeze yourself into a corner. Um, it'll be something like where it will hit you so hard when something or a piece doesn't come out like the way that you want it, and your expectations and uh, your studying will be a place of friction for you, and it's hard to come back. It's not impossible. It's just that if you treat yourself kinder and understand why, like you are doing art and making art, it makes those moments a lot more bearable. And the process, it is a sometimes, not always, but art sometimes is a very labor intensive process. Not that many people think about it, because people confuse being artistic and being like a creative person with being a fun loving and ooh, everything is perfect, and oh, I'll just beat this with a smile. And that's not always the case. Just because you are creative and just because um, this is an artistic endeavor doesn't make it any less labor intensive, and it doesn't make it any less painful when you're going through a tough spot, you know. And the number one thing I can tell you is that if you understand why you do art and your goals in doing that, it makes it a lot better, because you need to think of it in a way where, okay, I'll set the scene for you. Let me set the mood. I'll set the mood. So you are looking at an art piece. You are about to make a decision. Now, this can either make or break. I know I think this black and white, like sometimes. This decision will make or break your piece, right? Your art piece. And is it better to either think of this as a learning experience where even if you make a mistake, like you were going to at least somehow learn something from it and think of your overall goal? Or is it better to just kind of knock yourself down, and once you make the decision, it's either I'm the best artist in the world and I'm so good, or I'm a piece of crap and I should never have made that decision. I was dumb enough to make that decision. Which one would you rather have? Or even better, what would you tell a young version of yourself, like while you were in that process? Because a lot of times we let negative self talk kind of knock ourselves down. And so think of a younger version of yourself, you know, and, you know, it is much better to think of it that this is not your one and only piece. You have many more art pieces to come, and it's all in the process of doing things. And you need to pace yourself, in that process, because in and of itself, if you are doing art for X reason, and I can't fill out this blank for you, that's something that it is completely yours. It can be that you want to have fun, it could be that you want to improve on something. It doesn't even necessarily have to make sense to anybody else but you, but it is your right to have that goal and to have that reason. So, is it better to have that, or is it better to prove something? To prove that you're not a failure, to prove to other people that, yes, once I get to this level, then I'm an artist. Then I'm good. Then I'm good enough. And I have a style. And that's something that you have to answer for yourself. Now we have that part of it, and I believe I have it. I think because I forgot to. Um, yeah, it was kind of like, oh, and then this is for the people who's also um basically like shouting on the other end, but I don't have an art goal. Like, how do I find my art goal? And it's basically really the only way that you can have an art goal is if you're self-conscious about something. Like self-conscious enough to the point where you want to improve on the skill, or you're willing to practice it more. That's basically what will spearhead you through whatever your next art goal is, or if it's something that it doesn't even necessarily have to be tangible. I know a lot of people, they kind of go through these challenges and stuff like that, but to tell you the truth, I feel those challenges, they're kind of a farce, because it's not until you actually do it that you see the product of it and you're like, oh, okay, well, either that really helped me, or it's, not really aligning with what I really wanted. Um, so that kind of brings me to my other point where, oh yeah, that's like what I said, where basically everyone's unique and sometimes you compare yourself. So, um, when you're comparing yourself to other artists, and a lot of the times I even do these challenges myself. A lot of the times when you're looking at the references, or you're looking at that other person doing those challenges, a lot of times what you're looking at is that you're looking at the product or the end result of something. And a lot of the times it's just a pretty idea, but you don't really know the techniques or the complete laborious process that it's taken to get to that result, if that makes sense. So you kind of, I kind of compare it to when you watch a movie, like in as an audience member, and not a lot of people think of art this way. It's just since it's a single picture, and especially with Instagram, and you see a lot of people kind of pump out like beautiful, gorgeous products, or like for me, the first thing that pops up into my head is like paintings, where I look at a painting and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's beautiful, especially with like TikTok and stuff. You kind of see like the process videos, and it fools you into thinking, oh, this person did it in like instantaneously. Like I can do things instantaneously too. And then when I put pen to paper, I go, oh wait, I there's a lot more nuance to this. There's a lot more preparation. There's a lot more, um, and what nobody tells you is that behind those paintings, there's techniques, and this is like if I could shout it from the rooftops, especially when it comes to style and studying art. Just because you like a product of something, so let's say you like a certain artist's paintings, does not mean that you like the techniques it takes to get to that process. So, for example, I can give you an antidote of my own. Okay, so Copic markers. I fell in love with Copic markers from one specific. I don't have their handle. I would be super happy. Oh wait, actually I think it's Levitso. See? Look, it was so because I remembered one of their pieces and he signed it in the bottom. Okay, Levitso. Amazing artist. I will be happy if you guys have if you guys are super curious about it. But I saw his videos on Instagram before even TikTok or anything was really a thing. He would put lapse videos, so it's kind of like sped up videos of his Copic marker thing, and I went crazy with Copic markers because I convinced myself that that's what I needed to up my ante and like finally get to that artistic level that I wanted to. So what I did was is that I was very blessed to have my friend Danielle, who she actually went through the phase herself and didn't want the markers anymore, and so she bestowed them on me. And I went to work, and I was like, okay, and I was swatching, and I was doing this. Now, lo and behold, um, what was funny about that was that I did not watch any um, how-to videos. So I went just straight into using the markers and but what was crazy about it is that I did not like my work at all. I kept comparing my stuff to his stuff and I just came up short every single time and I was frustrated and it never even occurred to me that I needed to improve my technique. It wasn't even a question about like oh, I'm a bad artist and he's a great artist, and I'm going to use the exact tools that this great artist has, and that's what I'm missing. But nay, 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 this is not true. It is not about the product, and it is not about that he's a better artist, and I'm. It's the process of when I finally sat down to study how to, um, like, layer the markers, to put them down, the different shades, how shading works, the different techniques, I didn't like it. It didn't flow with what I wanted. So the funny thing is, I love pastel colors. I love cutesy, um, styles, rounded styles. And for me, I could not execute my style with these techniques. Now, probably now that I'm older and I have more patience, because that's another thing that I did not have when I was younger. Now, when I say younger, I want to say like five years ago. Um, that was part of the technique of having Copic markers. It was layering. It was um, blending the right colors together, especially that they were Copic markers are alcohol based. I did not research any of these things. So I went in thinking that my uh, hero, like looking at my hero's work and not having a critical eye and like basically going in without a second glance of how to use this tool and if that went with my art goals. And mind you, my art goals have always been to have fun. My art goals have always been I'm a big uh like character developer I guess like I love telling stories and I'm telling you, I love pastels, but I love freedom of color. Like I love making last minute changes. And you cannot do that with Copic. I felt restrained because I like changing my mind. I don't like being just cemented down into one idea. And it's super ironic because like I work with paint now And if you want to talk about permanent decisions, sometimes, but two, I'm at a better point of my, um, I guess, art journey where I'm accepting mistakes now and I'm less harsh of myself. Uh, and, probably if I'll most likely go back to Copics, but now I understand a lot of that. I look at him as an artist and me as an artist, and we just have two different, not only styles, but goals as artists because I don't like the restraint of like having to plan everything. Like, of course, I plan a lot of things out, but I do that as a more serious route. I also like, doing goofy doodles and crazy, wacky things. And for me, it's not to say you can't find those techniques in Copics. You can. I am 110% positive that there are artists out there that have completed that. But for me, I like, I guess, the messiness and the chaos of paint. And for me, I've found it a lot um, more forgiving, I guess, in that way, to have tools uh, like, um, let's say, uh, like wash white out and actually like drawing things ahead of time. And oh man, with Copics it was like literally for me, if I didn't have the right exact shade that I wanted at that time, it just felt completely ruined. Like I couldn't just manually, and that's the thing with paint that I like. It's like if I don't get the shade that I exactly want, I can like mix a couple of things and kind of create a shade that's more that I like. I like that creative process of making shades and doing all that stuff. So that was one thing that for me, I loved. I loved doing that. And it wasn't until I kind of stopped. That's not what I want to say. I don't want to say stop comparing yourself, but if you are going to compare yourself, know the techniques that go behind the product that you're seeing. And I feel like that's the biggest takeaway that I would want to give artists out there, that it's not enough just to look at a painting or look at your favorite artist and being like, ha, yes, I like it. I will also do this. Because a lot of the times you'll like a certain painting or a certain thing, just be one aspect of it. Either you like the color, you like the structure of it, you like the products that they're using, you like the strokes. And um, there's most likely probably a video out there where where that artist is explaining their process, and you can start applying that to your own work. And that's the beautiful thing about the art community now, is the transparency. And really look at um, that process. And if you like doing that and you also like the result of it. So that's like the two things. It's not only liking the product, the final product of something, but the process of like, okay, I'm gonna sit here. You are, because by the end of it, you're gonna be sitting there for hours and hours. You might as well be doing something that you like. I mean, especially when it comes to something um, like that. So that's the takeaway. So you need to find references that align with your goals, even if it's to have fun and even if it's just don't beat yourself up if, like, let's say, because funny enough, a lot of artists, they don't know what goes behind that painting or that product. So for the longest time I never even thought, especially when I was in my teens, for me, especially my biggest like my biggest inspirations were like comic book artists. And for the life of me, I could not fathom that it was a team of people doing something. I swore up and down when I was younger that like a comic book was made by one person and one person alone, and that the cover art and all of the panels and everything like that. So that's what I would do. I would just I would sit down and I would try to make one comic. Like I remember very vividly in my, like, I was probably 14, 15, and being convinced that with a scrap of, like, you know paper, computer paper, and staple. And I'm telling you, I got pretty far because like I remember writing a script and I remember like even referencing like Cardcaptor Sakura, like one of the volumes, and I'm like, okay, I can like, think of an idea and have the cover and blah blah blah. And I remember like after 4 or 5 hours, I was like tired. Like I made my little book, I did it, but oh boy, I did not have the stamina to I even remember I had this idea of like coloring and inking it, and I got as far as inking it and then called it a day, and I was really proud. So yeah, it's one of those things like it's funny when you hear about it, but like how far are we from that idea from when we're younger, you know? So look at the product, look at, why you like it, if if it's something that aligns with where you are, and are you willing to practice this sort of thing? Are you willing to put in that um, practice into learning that technique and applying it to your own work? And again, like, don't let that deter you. If you're just a person that's out there just having fun and, fumbling along in life, and, I respect that totally. Like, don't feel like everything has to be so serious as far as like art goes. And I want to say there was, did I cover? I just want to double check on because I know we're hitting that hour mark soon. So I just want to double check. Um, so we covered that. So just understanding your art goals, studying those techniques, and then just tying with those two main things, just find those references that speak to you. And my bonus thoughts, I guess, just because we have like a little bit of time, um, is that, oops, sorry. Um, so if it's something like where that's what you want to do, you want to find references that like kind of are more to your style, or you want to find like references to study, um, I would just recommend organizing them because um, it's a good idea to do reference boards. So let's say if you have like a general idea of something, like you want to draw a character, you want to draw a landscape, there's a story behind it. It's good to, even if it's a fan art of something, it's good to get multiple references for multiple things. So for example, even if you are a, let me think of like the most basic, um, let's say you're just sketching something. Like it's not even something that you want to do, like you want to ink or color or anything. You have to think of like the pose, you have to think of the anatomy, possibly shading, line work, like at least maybe in the sketching part, you're being loosey goosey about it. Um, the spatial stuff. So just organize yourself by what it is that you want to focus on, improve on, having reference folders, or even doing kind of like for me, what I do is I combine the reference pictures that I get either from online or take photos. And what I do is I kind of clump them all together on Inkscape. Inkscape is a free program where you can kind of edit photos, or you can use like a tool that I use is the. I'm actually looking at my phone now. Let me see. Let me see. It's the Instagram layout, so you can kind of get different references and stuff and have them all in one page. So then you have them all in one place. So then if you want to click back and forth, I definitely know on Firepaca, that's like the online program that I use, or like the digital illustration program that I use, you can actually drag a an image and make it into a layer. So you can actually, like kind of what I did here, where I made it visible, and you can click that on and off. For references, just if you're doing references from a uh, and this is always like what I want to talk about as far as when it comes to tracing or understanding photographs or references. Please, 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 if you are taking a um, like intellectual property from another artist, please make sure to reference them and make sure that they're okay with that as far as being inspired by their work, because in and of itself it's not yours, and it's something that anytime I tell people about tracing, it's always to be used as a study tool and shouldn't be either posted or taken credit for. And that's the thing. A lot of people are very much like, ooh, oh my gosh, ooh, tracing, never trace, never trace. I am not that kind of person. I'm more of like the idea of tracing being used responsibly in the sense of studying something, but it being the stepping stone to drawing it on your own. So for example, like I know a lot of people like are sharpening the pitchforks now, but for example, if you have never drawn a character before, so like let's say I'm going to draw a fan art of, I don't know why the first thing that comes to my mind is, okay, Luffy from One Piece. Okay, because I did that fan art the other day. Um, And for me, I struggled with knowing the directions of like, or the space between his eyes and his mouth, right? So if I would take a picture and trace over it in the sense of like, oh, okay, spatially, this is where his eyes are, this is where his mouth is, and then this is the structure of his jawline. Okay, cool. And then go to another page and then draw from my traced reference. There's nothing wrong with drawing like a new one and tracing kind of like a blueprint of what you were talking about or like what you were breaking down from the photo. It is very wrong, and I completely understand that if you were to take that photo, trace over it, and then upload it or say, haha, I am done. I did the art. This is not the case. Like, I am not saying to do that because that is in and of itself not, you are not creating anything on your own, and you are not learning anything. By the end of it, you are literally just stopping like the process of your learning by just tracing over an already existing thing. But if you are tracing over the existing thing, going to a separate document and kind of looking at the trace and studying from like the line differentiation or the strokes that you made, the direction of things, and then going on a separate, I see nothing wrong with that, especially when you're a brand new artist and you've never drawn that character before. You are not like key, especially when it comes to posing and spatial recognition. Like, I see that as a tool for learning, but not the final product. And this is like where, I'll kind of like make my peace with that. I know a lot of people are very taboo when it comes to, you know, tracing, like where it's like, oh my gosh, like, no, never do it. I say never do it in the sense of like claiming this as your own. Like, never trace to the sense of like, oh, okay, yes, this is done. This is my final take. And no, just do it in the sense of like recognizing where certain line strokes are, decisions that you're going to make as kind of a blueprint, but never do it in the sense of like your final thing. I'm sorry if I ranted that for a while, but I know for a lot of people, like they hear tracing and it's like, oh my gosh, ah. But for me, that's my experience. That for me, I felt like when it came to tracing over a photo and then understanding um, like where certain positions and anatomy and direction, like for me, it became like it did. It was a tool for me to understand positioning better. So for me, I like to give that tool, especially now with phones and editing software, where you can kind of manually go in on your phone and break down things into shapes and stuff a lot easier than it was like a couple years ago. But I'm more than happy to have the discussion with anybody if that's something you guys want me to go into more detail. And then my second bonus advice, I guess if you guys want to take this in a more, now this is more of my personal preference because I like journaling and it's just something that I like to do. But where I take progress notes on techniques that I liked or I didn't like, and I take detailed notes on what I learned from specific artists or from specific videos or things that I would want to try in the future. And believe it or not, this helps with like the positive talk. So when um, those moments of like, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I don't, you know, like, why am I doing this? I'm just embarrassing myself. I'm pretty harsh on myself. Like, and I kind of look at those notes from like a week or 2 weeks ago, and I look at all the things that I've learned. And kind of it dawns on me that if I do give up, or if I kind of drop the pencil and um, don't push myself, I'm robbing myself of learning more things. And it could be that I would fail, and it could be that like I'll be stagnant, and the art I won't produce isn't the best. But in my eyes, that's what I told myself a week ago. That's what I told myself 2 weeks ago. And I can see that I'm improving from, like, maybe it's not a huge improvement, but I'm making more things, and I feel like I'm closer than I was before. So if I didn't listen to myself 2 weeks ago, and if I didn't listen to myself 1 week ago, who's to say in a month or so from now, I'll look back on me now and be like, hey, I'm glad I didn't listen to that negative self talk, because, I'm learning something, if that makes sense. So it could be that you're in a spot where you're you don't feel good about your art, and that is okay. That like by the end of it, I can understand, because I understand that that kind of talk is like fueling something within you to motivate you. But please be kind to yourself, because if it gets to the point where you are kind of talking to yourself in that enough, it's going to rob you of the joy that you're potentially going to feel. Not only now, but a couple weeks from now, that if you were to push yourself to like keep on quote unquote failing, um, you never know. You never know how um, you could feel in a couple weeks from now, if that makes sense. Sure, you feel bad now, but like who's to say in a couple of weeks or a month, a year, 2 years from now, like you won't look back at this time and be like, oh wow, like I remember that, and I am better. Like I am sure, like 10 out of 10 sure, that if you are an artist out there, no matter how much you practice, how few you practice, there is a piece of art out there from your childhood, from just a year ago, that is vastly different from the one that you are now. And you do have a chance to get better, but it's not to say that like the artist that you are now is any less valid or it's any less worth, because it's a stepping stone to who you will become. And that's a very powerful thing. you know just because, let's say, I look at my sketchbook from 4 years ago and say, wow, I didn't know how to draw eyebrows, wow, I didn't know, like, every character looked like an inflated stick figure. And but there's something in my heart that I was like, well, I don't draw like that anymore, but by the end of it, that was the best that I could, at that time. That was, I remember like just poring over things, and like just spending hours over something. And for me, I think that gives me a lot of the characteristics that I have now as an artist, where um it lays down a foundation to be better. So please, please, like, as you're finding your artistic style, know that you are unique. You are contributing something to this community that is valid and that should be put out there. And I'm talking to myself as much as as I'm talking to you guys, because I have those fears and I have those anxieties. And um, you deserve to be heard, and you deserve to be um, like, I guess, taking up space, I guess, is the best way that I can describe it. Like, you very much deserve to put your art out there. And it is okay if you don't feel good about it. I know I've kind of hit this point home like a couple of times, but it's just something that, like, push forward. or if it's something that you need to take a little bit of space for it, but it doesn't make you any less of an artist. Um, yeah, because you're creating something. By the end of it, you are putting something out there that wasn't there before. And I think that's a very beautiful thing. Um, and by the end of it, we're all kind of feeling the same thing and connecting with each other because of that. And you can find your tribe that way. And I feel art, as much as it can be fun, it can be cathartic, it can be a pain in the butt, it can be all of those things, but it is that because that's what you make of it. And by the end of it, you can connect with other people at the same time if that's something that you want to do. If it's something that it's more personal and it's more like your healing time, because I've heard that before too. By the end of it, that's the beautiful thing about it. You can make it what you want. And but yeah, that's at least my thoughts on it. And thank you so much for hearing me ranting and raving about this topic. And I really hope it helps you guys out. Like at the same time, this is a lot of what I've spoken about is my personal experience and like what I take from it. I'm sure you guys have even your own kind of experience with it and what it means to you. So definitely let me know if you guys would want to talk about this topic again. And I'll definitely leave you guys because I can hear my puppy begging for his lunch. So I'm going to go attend to him. And always love to have you guys here on the stream. Thank you guys so much for listening to me ranting and raving on this topic that you guys voted for. I really appreciate it. And I hope you like this little video here on the side. If you guys do like it, just let me know and I'll be sure to film more so then you guys have like fun little videos here on the side as we're talking about these discussion topics. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a very relaxing, very happy Monday fun day. And I'll catch you guys on the next stream. Bye.